Yes, Stephen Adams. I'm General Manager of BAIF.
Stephen, I was interested in your allusion in your presentation to the Fire Futures programme currently being undertaken by the government. What, in your view, can the industry do to fill the void in terms of fire risk assessors?
The void is there long before Fire Futures. I think what the consultation exercise around that will demonstrate is that the fire industry has to work with the fire and rescue services and the other services involved and the government in providing some reassurance that fire risk assessment is going to be done properly. Because in the current age of austerity, where the fire and rescue services will be hit by all of the challenges that local authorities will be hit with, we have to be able to help them demonstrate competency, and that they know when they go into a building to look at their fire risk assessments and the way in which they're protected, that they can tick boxes knowing that the companies who've worked in those buildings and have worked with the responsible person have done the job that they've been paid to do, and they've done it competently, and that's what we're all working towards.
And we have an almost bewildering number of individuals and organisations looking at the whole wider subject of fire risk assessments and competency. But what, in your view, are the shared values of those people who are looking into this issue?
I think the shared values are very simple. We are all looking at bringing some common aims into the marketplace. At the moment, anybody can put themselves forward as a fire risk assessor without any training, marginal levels of competency, and I think probably most dangerously they might be competent at one level but totally incompetent at more complex levels with multi-occupancy dwellings. So we all want to see the marketplace have some form of recognition, because at the end of the day a responsible person has to draw some conclusions about the people who are carrying out fire risk assessments. So the individual competences are being worked on by the Competency Council, and a whole range of organisations, including BAIF, is feeding into that. And then the BAIF scheme, which is under discussion at the moment, will be looking at the infrastructure within which those individuals work, the companies who will be providing that service, to make sure they've got all of the right background in quality management, insurances and so on. And that's where we're working towards, but that will obviously be joined at the hip with the individual competence. So we're all working towards the same aim, that the responsible person and the fire and rescue services who go in to look at buildings, and ultimately the insurers, know that the person who did the work and the company that supported them are capable and competent to know what they can do, and also, just as important, to know what they can't do and how to refer it on.
Stephen Adams, thank you very much. So Simon, can you tell me a little bit about what issues you have with what you've described as the risk-based approach to fire safety legislation?
Yeah, well, I compare it to DIY, and we've all got DIY jobs at home that we put off, and 40% of people who should have risk assessments don't have them. So if you leave it down to the individual, you obviously get different amounts of due diligence. Some people get it done properly, some people put a lot of time and effort into it, some people just sweep under the carpet, forget about it, or they have a go themselves, and maybe if you do a bit of tiling, it doesn't matter if there's a few wonky tiles, but if you're doing your own risk assessment and you get it wrong, then it can make a difference. It can make a huge difference.
And what do you see about the virtues of having a single register of fire risk assessors compared to the current system of several registers?
Well, first of all, it's a commonality of competence, I call it, where everyone is passing the same level, we say benchmark. And the only way to do that is to write it to a standard, which is the 17024 standard, or the 45011 standard, and to have someone else come in and say you're doing it properly. So UCAS will come in and audit us twice a year to make sure that we're doing it, and we can prove that whoever we certificate is competent to do the job. And there's not robustness in the other schemes, and in fact the IFSM have recognised that. They said, you know what, we're going to change to a better system. Unfortunately, IFPO have been quiet on this. The IFE has said, no, we're not going to bother going down that route. We're going to continue with our own register and the way we do it, which, you know, is their choice. But to have a commonality of competence, and everyone signposting that commonality of competence will make a big difference. You know, if everyone's singing the same tune, you know, everyone picks it up very quickly. You know, if everyone's singing different tunes, then no one's going to get the message.
Nick Coombe.
Nick, what are the most important things that responsible persons should be looking for in fire risk assessors?
The most important things I think they should be looking for is checking that, number one, they have done buildings of similar type before, so they're not just, you know, doing risk assessment in offices and now they're moving to res care. So therefore you need to look at their CV to see what kind of work they've done. Make sure that they're competent to do the job. This can be checked a number of ways, i.e. by are they on any of the registration schemes that are available at the time, what qualifications they've got, and also by actually checking previous work that they've done on other similar buildings. If they won't agree to that, then I would say don't get them. Third and finally, though, I would say that you need to be comfortable that the way they are doing it and the format they're using that you can then use when they leave. When they hand over that risk assessment document, it becomes your document as a responsible person, and you need to act on it and be able to use it and therefore carry on the fire safety of that premises.
Right, indeed. And what, in your opinion, is the main weakness of fire risk assessments and fire risk assessors at present?
Probably the main weakness of fire risk assessors, I believe, are where they are going into buildings where I don't think they are competent to do. And this is definitely relevant in current with residential properties. The big weakness of fire risk assessors, I think, is they don't understand passive fire safety, compartmentation, etc. And when they're going into premises where a stay-put policy is probably paramount, they're not understanding what is required to keep that strategy alive and well. And when they don't understand it, a lot of them are just saying, well, let's stick a fire alarm system in, which is actually making the situation worse.
And is there anything being done to address the lack of knowledge on the passive fire protection side?
The Fire Risk Assessment Community Council has been running for about 6 months now. This is backed by the government and is looking at for want of a better word, a national register of fire risk assessors. What they've done so far is they've agreed the 9 competencies that a fire risk assessor should have. For example, knowledge of appropriate legislation, knowledge of building structures, etc. What we're doing now is trying to work down the detail of them 9 so people will fully understand what they need to be able to do to satisfy some kind of scheme that will put them on a national register.
Nick Coombe, thank you very much.
Thank you.